Hey everybody, good evening. It's Amanda with Once in a Wild, and welcome to Once in a Wild Wednesday. Sorry for the delay. I was getting a couple of things in order, and we were having a little bit of a camera issue. But you guys know that happens often on the show. What are we going to do? Technical difficulty. So welcome. Hello, Viviana. Nice to see you. She's saying hi, Amanda and Ricky, and everyone watching tonight. How lovely to say hello. Hi, Donna. Thank you for tagging some of your friends, as you usually do. Hopefully Bonnie, Sarah, and Nick show up tonight. And hello everybody else who might be tuning in. And it's so good to see each and every one of our friends, family, and followers tuning in and chiming in with questions and comments for me. That is always super helpful and, of course, really encouraging for me. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So once again, welcome to Once in a Wild Wednesday. We broadcast every single Wednesday evening here at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, which is here in Texas, which is where we are. But Once in a Wild is our mobile zoo, and we bring the zoo to classrooms, to birthday parties, to all kinds of events, to nursing homes, to hospitals, whatever you would like us to bring animals to that might be appropriate for bringing animals to you. We can bring the zoo to you, which is a lot of fun. We also have a virtual zoo, as you are seeing right now, where we broadcast every single Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Central Time here in Texas, and we do that free of charge. We do also have tipping and donation capabilities via Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal, which are all Once in a Wild. So Venmo is at Once in a Wild, Cash App is $ Once in a Wild, as you can see down below, and PayPal is also at Once in a Wild to keep it nice and simple. Please also follow us on our social media if you haven't already. To see the show without any issues on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Once in a Wild. The links to all of our channels and all of our social media are always found in the description box down below if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. And please follow us on Facebook if you aren't already. That way you don't miss the show every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central. So we're really happy to see you guys. Now, we also do, like I said, have tipping and donation capabilities through those things I already listed. But you can also go ahead and purchase your own animal encounter. So those are virtual as well as in person. And that is the very best way to help us out because you get something in return. As well, we also have our Amazon Wishlist, which is found at onceinaWilds.com all the way down to the bottom of the homepage. You can see a great big button that says Donate to Amazon. And that will take you to our Amazon Wishlist, which has a couple of, well, more than a couple. It's got a whole bunch of items for the animals that you can send us, which is a lot of fun as well. So feel free to donate in any way that you have the ability. That helps us out. Every little bit helps, of course, especially during these trying times. So it's good to see each and every one of you out here today. And I'm really excited to bring 3 animal species to meet you guys, and actually 4 individual animals. Sometimes the animals are the same species, but we have multiples of them. That happens quite a bit here on the show. But if you are new to Once in a Wild, welcome. My name is Amanda. I am the founder and animal specialist here at Once in a Wild. And again, we are virtual as well as in person. So please let me know if you would like more information on any of that. My contact number is down below for you, as always. And you can also visit onceinawild.com and request a callback. Like I said, we do have virtual capabilities. So let me go ahead and share with you guys a commercial that we made on our virtual program just to basically explain how the virtual programs work. I know virtual is kind of very popular right now for obvious reasons. Let's go ahead and share that with you while I get everything else together that I need to get together. And let past me explain all about the virtual Zoom room animal encounters.
Stuck in the house with nothing to do? Did your students miss their fun field trip that was planned for them? Are you looking for a fun team building activity for your employees that are stuck in the house with the same old Zoom meetings from day in and day out? Was your child's birthday party canceled this year because you're stuck in quarantine? Well, then we got the solution for you. Our Zoom room animal encounters are a great solution for you. In Zoom Room virtual animal encounters, we can bring the zoo to you, but from the safety of your own home. They are fully customizable, and you can invite all your friends to join in and meet all the animals. They are fun, unique, and very interactive. It's also a great learning opportunity. And most of all, it's very, very simple. Just contact us to book your appointment and schedule your Zoom room. Then select the animals you would like to attend in your Zoom room animal encounter, and then send the link to all of your friends and family who are invited to the Zoom room that we provide to your email. And best of all, you can bring the animals to anyone, anywhere, all over the world. So visit us at onceinawild.com or call us today. We can't wait to see you.
All right. I hope that explained everything about the Zoom room virtual animal encounters. And if you want to learn more about either one of the virtual or the in-person animal encounters, please call me down below or send me a text message. I am hearing from a couple of our viewers that our connection is a little bit blurry. I think it's better now. So let me know how that goes. I'm doing my very best. I always restart my router. I always restart my computer. I always restart my camera connection. I do my very best to make sure everybody else here in the house is turned off of Wi-Fi and remind everybody. So it might just be a YouTube or Facebook issue right now, or just internet issue in general. So let me know and keep me posted on how that looks. And I do apologize. We're doing the best we can. And thank you so very much for letting me know. That helps me out a lot to know what's going on. Hopefully when it is, you know, on YouTube permanently or Facebook permanently, it won't look like that. So please let me know and keep me posted. Thanks, Jeffrey. And thank you, Wendy over in Florida, for letting me know that. Wendy says it's a little bit better. So hopefully it's a little bit better for you, Jeffrey, as well. So how have you guys been doing this week? Have you been keeping safe? And is your family healthy? I sure hope so. We're doing our very best to stay healthy as well. And sorry, I just dropped something on my desk here. But we have some really exciting animals to meet you guys. But I'm going to actually have you guys meet a couple of kind of frequent animals that come on the show quite a bit. And all of our animals today are the same color, or at least color scheme today. And we're keeping the color scheme yellow, which is kind of interesting. And I know what you're thinking. It's probably going to be Pikachu. But Pikachu is actually not making an appearance today. And it looks like the connectivity is much better. So I think it was just an internet issue, Jeffrey. Thank you for keeping me posted. That is so nice to know. I think it is everyone's connection, Viviana. It sounds like everybody's having the same problem. So I don't think it's just you. So hopefully it will stay okay the rest of the program. So I do apologize. We're doing our very best. So let's go ahead and meet our first animal. We have 2 reptiles and 1 bird species to meet today. And the bird species is actually a new bird species to us here at Once in a Wild. And they're all yellow colored, like I said before. And let me see if I can retrieve our first animal without any issues here. And I have, of course, this little table in front of me to my left to be able to kind of set the animals on today, which is always fun and helpful. So here's Felix, the leopard gecko, joining us today. Felix is a leopard gecko, like I just said, and leopard geckos are found in the Middle East. They're found in Iran, Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, North India, all over the Middle East, and they're pretty common out there. And you can see why they call them, of course, the leopard gecko. They are covered in spots, and those spots provide them camouflage, of course. So that's a better view of him. They are so very cute. Leopard geckos are one of the most well-known of all the gecko species, and they are very popular as pets as well. They are actually pretty good first-time lizard pets. I don't really recommend anyone just, of course, buy one on impulse or anything like that. We don't recommend that with any animal companions or once in a while. But they do make decent pets because they don't get very big. This is about as big as they get. See if I can show him off a little bit better. This is about as big as they get. And they aren't really inclined to be aggressive or to bite, at least very much. They could bite because they do have a mouthful of teeth. But they are pretty docile as a rule of thumb, and some are more docile than others. Felix is a lot more handleable than our female, who is named Fiona. Fiona is just, she's not mean or anything like that, but she just doesn't really prefer to be held. She prefers to be left alone. So we don't hold her and show her as much because of that reason. We want to keep her nice and comfortable. We're still working on her training process and her toleration of human handling. But in general, leopard geckos tolerate human handling pretty well. They also don't get very big, like I said before, so they don't require a whole lot of room. Those of you guys that joined us for our show last week, you saw our new Savannah monitor. Savannah monitors are not good lizard pets, in my opinion, because they do require a ton of space. They're a lot more inclined to possibly bite and be aggressive and defend themselves Oh, he's so cute. I guess it's just better if I just hold him. Like I said, they're just a lot more high maintenance. Leopard geckos are also typically good on a diet of just insects, and they can eat small mealworms, smaller superworms, crickets, dubia roaches, and a nice variety of all of that. But they do very well just kind of having a little bowl of mealworms for a snack whenever they want, and then supplemented with some more different types of insects and other bugs now and then with the proper supplementation. And also, they are crepuscular, which means that they don't really need a whole lot of lighting or anything like that because they don't bask in the sun. They are not usually out in the daytime at all, so they don't really require any of that. So they are pretty easy to keep if you are interested in leopard geckos. And they are not that expensive, like I said, to feed or house, and not that expensive to acquire. So that being said, I don't recommend just anybody just have one. You want to make sure and do all of your research and take the very best care of them that you can. And they do live for quite a long time. Leopard geckos can live into their teens and 20s. So it is still a long commitment, but they are awesome little animals. And I can see why they're very popular as animals that people keep in their own homes. They are super cute, aren't they? Wendy says he is so cute. And your cat is watching him. Well, we won't let your cat and him mingle because cats are natural predators of geckos. In fact, out there in the Middle East, sand cats and other felines would be a very, very common predator for the leopard gecko in their natural environment. And cats eat a lot of lizards. People think that cats are really good mousers, but cats are a lot more specialized to eating birds as well as reptiles. Cats do end up killing a lot of reptiles. They don't always eat them, but they do hunt them, and that is really unfortunate. So we will not let them play, but of course, it's safe for your cat to watch Felix. Let's see what everybody else is saying. Viviana's ready for Christmas break. I can definitely attest to that. I'm sure everybody's ready for Christmas break. It is not the tegu. It is going to be Felix the leopard gecko. The tegu, of course, isn't yellow, so we're keeping a yellow color scheme today. So maybe you guys can guess the next animal as well. And the last animal is going to be a brand new animal never before seen on the Once in a Wild live stream show, which is pretty exciting. What other questions do you have about Felix? Please let me know. So Felix here, I believe, is around 4 or 5 years old now. And like I said, they can live into their teens or 20s. So he's still a young man, but he is about as large as leopard geckos get. And did you guys know that most gecko species, like common geckos we would see here in the United States, like Mediterranean house geckos, which by the way are an invasive species. Invasive species means that they do not belong here, but Mediterranean house geckos actually came over from the Mediterranean. That makes sense. They traveled over on accident on boats and other means of transportation that humans have invented and utilized, of course. And that's how Mediterranean house geckos became very, very common in the United States. But guess what? Mediterranean house geckos are not a harmful invasive species. So they're one of the few types that actually should be left alone and can benefit you. So Mediterranean house geckos, as well as all sorts of other insectivorous geckos, insectivorous, is that the right word? They're insectivores. All sorts of geckos that climb and eat a lot of insects. They are very beneficial for you as a human and for all kinds of life on Earth. Because with too many bugs and pests and insects, etc., we can get very, very sick. And Lord knows we don't need any more diseases going on in the world. So the more Mediterranean house geckos, the better, in my opinion. And they actually do not cause very much harm. They're not a very large type of gecko. So you might see them in your house quite often, and you can just leave them alone. They will not bother you. The best thing you can do is leave them alone and not to use any insecticides or pesticides in your home or outside your home because you could be poisoning their food, and that of course isn't good for them. That's one way you can help out lizards. But most lizards all over the world, they do eat insects and some don't. There are exceptions. But all geckos eat insects, and some geckos eat insects as well as fruits and things like that and nectar. But this species of gecko, the leopard gecko, as well as the Mediterranean house gecko, they actually are both insectivores. So they only eat insects and other arthropods, so like worms, spiders, other invertebrates like that. That is what they eat. And they might occasionally, I mean, some people probably feed them pinky mice and things like that. I don't really recommend that high of a fat content for your leopard gecko, especially not very often, that it's going to be very, very fatty. As you can see, he hasn't missed many meals. But he only eats arthropods, so no mice for him. So he is definitely, as you can see by his tail, this shows you that he's a nice healthy weight. He has not become skinny by any means, and he's also not obese. So we know he's nice and healthy. That's how you can tell a leopard gecko is nice and healthy, is by the width of their tail. If the width of their tail is extra, extra fat, that tells you that they're actually getting a little bit too chunky and should probably eat less fatty meals. Like some of us in quarantine, I guess, right? Oh my goodness. So yeah, so some people do overfeed their leopard geckos, but if you keep them only on invertebrates like crickets and mealworms and dubia roaches and all those guys, those are all fine. A variety is best, and mealworms end up being their favorite, in my opinion. And like I said, you can kind of leave it in a little bowl for them to kind of snack on at their leisure, and then just supplement with the rest of those things. As long as they get all their vitamins and minerals like calcium and occasional multivitamins and things like that, they do really well, and they're very easy to care for. And as you can see, he looks great just like that. He has gained enough weight to be healthy, but he's also not chunky, and he doesn't need any rodents to supplement his diet whatsoever. Who has questions about him? Jeffrey says he has a sweet face. Yes, they do. Leopard geckos have a very sweet little smile. Look like they're always smiling and happy like a dolphin, right? That's just how their face looks. And let's see what other questions we have from Wendy and her triplets. I'm always paying attention to that as well. Can he walk on a leash? No, I don't believe so. Maybe your cat could walk on a leash. That might be a little bit more appropriate. Let's see. Does he need a light on him like the bearded dragon? So they really don't. So lights for leopard geckos are not necessary. Some people might have live plants in their leopard gecko enclosures, but it's not necessary for the leopard gecko to have a light for them. They really aren't an animal that basks in the sun. They are crepuscular, which means that they're most active during dawn and dusk, and sometimes during the night as well. So they're going to come out when it is most safe for them to come out and hunt all kinds of insects in the wild. And that is what they're going to do in the care of humans as well. They are not an animal that really comes out in the day whatsoever. You might see, sometimes you see Felix exploring a little bit when he's extra hungry. Maybe, he's just ready to eat. And so he's coming out a little early, but he's also in kind of a darker area of the room. So he might come out from now and then, but most of them will not come out during the day at all. So they don't need any extra lights, which is really nice. So that's a really convenient thing about them. How do they differ from the bearded dragon? I assume you mean maybe like care-wise. These guys are actually, I think, easier than the bearded dragon. They don't get nearly as large. You can feed them only insects. You don't have to worry about any salad or fruits and vegetables. In fact, they should not have any of those things. They don't eat them. They are carnivores and they are insectivores. So like I said, my leopard geckos mostly get mealworms that are provided pretty much at all times for them to snack on at their leisure. There's special bowls where the mealworms cannot escape. That's what I put them in. I also supplement all the time with calcium powder, which has D3 in it. And the D3 calcium powder is what the worms are kind of like crawling around in at all times. So they always get their calcium. And then once a week, they're going to get a nice multivitamin as well to keep them healthy. And that is really the extent of feeding them. They also eat crickets on occasion, which they will hunt in their enclosure, and it's really fun to see them hunt. And they can eat dubia roaches and maybe an occasional waxworm, and small superworms are fine too, as long as they're not great big giant superworms, because that's just too big for them. I think they're easier, and I can of course instruct you a little bit better on how to care for them, maybe in person, or I'll call you over the phone or something like that, or text message. I don't mind whatsoever. If you guys need consulting on your pet care, that is one of my specialties. Do they have a long tongue? That's a good question. No, they do not. They have a very, very short tongue, and it is similar to the bearded dragon's tongue, if you're familiar with that. They kind of stick out their tongue to taste and see what's going on around them. And they're always, yeah, see that's his tongue coming out so he can kind of taste the ground, or in this case, my hand, to see what's going on. Can't see my face, see what's going on or taste what's going on around them. And they also have really good vision. They have all 5 senses. They have great ears. Their ears are right there on the side of their head. See the holes there? He is smelling right now, because you can see by the throat movement right there, the up and down throat movement, that indicates that they are smelling and sniffing the air with their nostrils. And they also taste the ground as they walk around sometimes to get a feel of what's going on. So cute. And they have excellent vision, like I said before. Now, speaking of eyes, this type of gecko, the leopard gecko, is very unique in the gecko world. They cannot climb flat surfaces that are like straight up and down, like most like house geckos can and things like that. They do not have sticky teeth. They do not have sticky feet, is what I meant to say, or teeth. They do not have sticky feet. They have clawed feet. kind of just like maybe like a monitor lizard or something like that, like an iguana or something like that, but they don't climb. They walk along the ground. But my point is they don't have sticky toe pads like other geckos have to be able to climb up flat surfaces and walls and things. They do not have that ability. So they are strictly a terrestrial species on the ground only. Are you gonna go that way? Oh my gosh, you're so cute. I think he wants to jump onto the camera lens, but I'm not going to let him do that because he would hurt himself. These guys are not climbers, so not like the crested gecko that I've shown before, right? Don't jump. But they are very unique in that way, and they're also unique with their eyes. Like I said, something about their eyes. So leopard geckos actually have the ability to blink, whereas most gecko species do not have the ability to truly blink because most gecko species, do not have eyelids. So leopard geckos do have eyelids, and there's a couple of gecko species that do have eyelids that can blink just like we can, right? And clean debris out of their eye, also protect their eye from debris, and they can close their eyes and go to sleep, which is really, really convenient during the day when they want to go to sleep. But most gecko species do not have this ability, and instead they have to actually lick their own eyes with their tongue to keep their eyes moisturized and to clear any debris. But this gecko species has an advantage because they can blink and shut their eyes and protect their eyes from dust and dirt and all kinds of things on the ground where they're hanging out all the time. And they can also, like I said, shut their eyes for any reason, which is nice. Other geckos have to worry about that constantly and constantly kind of licking their own eyes. He can lick his face a little bit, but he doesn't have the flexibility in the tongue that most gecko species have because he doesn't really need to lick his eyes. So that's pretty neat about them. So they're unique in a couple of ways, like I said, with the toes that cannot climb up flat surfaces. See how he walks along the ground? You know, he just like kind of walks along the ground like a lizard does. Like you would picture most lizards walking along the ground. Even like a Komodo dragon looks like that when they walk. They kind of swing their legs. He's so cute. He's like so tiny over here. And also they cannot climb like that. In fact, they are always on the ground or underground. So we call that terrestrial or subterrestrial, right? You guys know that. They will go underground or underneath something during the day when it's really, really hot or when the sun is out. And like I said, they live in Middle Eastern countries where it's typically pretty warm, but they do go through some cooler periods as well, not as often as some other countries, obviously. But believe it or not, in some of the deserty type areas or arid areas where they live, it does actually get pretty cool certain times of year. Sorry, guys. Camera focus. Issues. There we go. And so during the colder months, they have to go into Burmation, which is kind of like a hibernation. Burmation is typically the term that we use for reptiles, like a leopard gecko. So during those times, they can actually live off of something really special, which is the fat in their tail. So all year long, except for during the colder months, they will be eating and eating and eating and getting fatter and fatter and fatter in the tail. Similarly to a camel who has a hump, right? And can store fat in their hump. Did you guys know that camels do not store water in their hump? But camels can go a long time without drinking, which is probably where that rumor got started. But they store fat in their hump for surviving off of food for a long, long time. These guys can survive for a few months, maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 months without eating if they have enough fat storage in that big, beautiful fat tail. Another thing that their tail does too is they can actually lose the tail for emergency purposes or safety purposes. If a predator like a feline or a fox or another lizard or a bird grabs them by the tail and tries to eat them, that tail can pop right off. It's called tail autotomy. And then it will grow back eventually. It takes months and months to do that usually, depending on how much protein they're getting to eat and things like that, how healthy they are and genetics and everything comes into play. It takes a few months to grow back usually. And that tail will never look as uniform and beautiful as it does here. It will be kind of like a smooth section where the new section is. And you can definitely tell. But it is a great emergency tactic to stay safe. If a predator grabs you by a body part that can come off, predator still gets a little bit of a snack, and the tail wiggles around as well to act as a diversion, which is really handy. And then the full animal can get away and then regrow the tail later. It takes a lot of energy and time to regrow the tail, so it's not ideal, but it is better than passing away from a predator, right? What else do you guys have to say about Felix, the leopard gecko? Those of you just joining us today, hello, my name is Amanda, and this is Felix, the leopard gecko. Today, we are meeting 3 animal species, and he's just the first one, so you haven't missed much. He's got a cool face. Thank you very much. He does have a cool face. Very distinguished. Now, in the wild, they're not going to be quite as yellow as this. We're meeting all yellow animals today, and see if you guys can guess the next animal coming out. It is another reptile, and it is another yellow-colored type reptile. But in the wild, they're not going to be nearly as yellow as this. You might have some yellowish individuals or tannish individuals in the wild, but through breeding in the care of humans, breeders have been able to develop all kinds of beautiful genetics, like Felix's coloration. In the wild, they're going to be more uniform in their spotting, and their spotting is going to basically cover their entire body, whether they be on the yellow color spectrum or on the more tan or brown color spectrum. They're going to have the spots kind of uniform all over their body for camouflage. That makes sense, because if you're going to stand out like this, you probably will stand out to your predators and stand out to your prey as well, because remember, these are carnivores. They have to hunt their food. They're like little kitty cats looking for prey. They kind of stalk their food. They're really adorable when they do that. They kind of sneak right up on their food and then pounce and grab it with their mouth, and then they will crunch it right up, swallow it down, and eat it. And that is how they hunt and whatnot. And thank you for saying he has a cool face. All right. Let me know if you have any other questions about him. Those were really good questions, you guys. Thank you so much for asking them. Did you see him blink? I told you he could blink. He has beautiful hazel eyes. They have very, very slender pupils, which are vertical pupils, just like a cat. Another reason why they call them the leopard gecko. They are very cat-like in their behavior of hunting, stalking, and whatnot. They are predators. They also have spots, of course, like a leopard. And then they have cat-like eyes with slitted pupils. Most of the time for a nocturnal or crepuscular, in this case, remember crepuscular is what this animal is. They are more active during dawn and dusk, but still a more nocturnal animal than a diurnal animal like us. Humans are traditionally diurnal. Can you see my pupils? They are round. Most diurnal animals have round pupils as a species, and most nocturnal or crepuscular animals have slitted pupils, like him. That is because a slitted pupil can actually dilate more than a rounded pupil can to be able to bring in lots of light. So nocturnal animals that are visual, using their vision a lot to get around and hunt and survive, like the gecko does. All gecko species have excellent vision, full color, all of that. They can see distances, they can see up close, they have amazing eyes, which is why they're either always licking their eyes to keep them nice and clear, or they have eyelids, in this case, like the leopard gecko, to be able to keep their eyes nice and safe. I want you guys to be able to see his eyes again, because we're talking about his eyes. There we go. Let's look at his eyes. They're so cute. But a slitted pupil can open up a lot more to be able to let in more light and be able to see, because without light, you can't see. At least a little bit of light is required. Even nocturnal animals require light to see. Did you know that? That's how vision works and how photography works as well. If there is zero light, then there is zero vision. But even nocturnal animals like owls have great big eyes. And then if you're a nocturnal animal like maybe a hedgehog, hedgehogs don't really use their vision very much. So their eyes are very tiny, but they're out at night too. But instead of using their eyes, a hedgehog, for example, would use their hearing as well as their nose. They have very, very good smelling abilities. But a gecko of all types, all geckos, are extremely visual animals. That is mostly how they see the world. Literally, they see the world with their eyes. And they also have a great sense of smell, good hearing, like we talked about with the little ear holes there. You can see his ears. That is his ear. And he has two of them, just like we do. He just doesn't have the flappy parts, just the ear hole like all lizards. And he also has a sense of taste as well as touch. So all 5 senses. Pretty cool, right? You are in love with Felix? That is so nice. Isn't he gorgeous? I think he's the most handsome leopard gecko I've ever seen, but I could be biased. Ooh, Kelly is guessing the next reptile is a yellow boa snake. You are very, very close. You are very, very close, but I do not have a yellow boa. Not a boa, but you are very, very close. So good job guessing. Okay, Felix, I think you did a great job representing your species and looking absolutely adorable. Please let me know if anybody else has any questions whatsoever. My hand is shaking just because I'm weak, not because he's heavy. It's just hard to work all day and then hold your hand up in this position, even if it's empty. But I want you guys to see how beautiful he is. See his little nails and claws? Nails and claws are the same thing, Amanda. His feet and claws is what I meant to say. He has cute little feet, and he has teeny tiny little claws. His claws are not sharp because, again, this is not really a climbing species. They don't really need super sharp claws. They have digging abilities a little bit. They can dig a little bit in loose soil and things like that, but usually they'll either dig their own burrow to hide in, or they'll find a burrow that already exists and kind of take it over and live under there. And then they'll move on to another burrow where there might be more bugs and things for them to hunt and kind of nomad around. Oh yes, but this is a species found in the Middle East, the leopard gecko, and an adorable species. Sorry about the scratch on my hand, you guys. Okay, that happens sometimes when you take care of animals. Sometimes you get scratched. It's just the way it is. He didn't do it, though. He's a gentleman. Okay, Felix, you did a great job. I think I'm going to let you rest down below. Let's see him walk one more time. Would you like to walk and show everybody how handsome you walk? Look at him go. Go, Felix, go. Go, Felix, go. He's like, where are the worms? I came here for the worms. You'll get worms after the show. Sorry about it. You can do it. See his throat moving like a frog? Remember, that means that he's smelling. So if you, oh, there he goes, licking his own face. See that? Super cute. Very, very cute. The triplets are guessing a yellow corn snake. You're very close, but I do not have a yellow corn snake. I only have one corn snake, and it's Harley Quinn, and she is mostly red. She has a little bit of yellow, but you're going to know who it is as soon as I bring it out. Okay, Felix, say goodbye to your lovely fans out there in TV land, and we will go and rest down below. Okay, we had some good guesses on the next animal. We sure did. And before I get started with the next animal, it is a reptile. It actually is a snake. So you're very, very close. And it is a yellow snake. And it is also not a naturally colored snake that you would find as a natural coloration in the wild. There's very few yellow animals. Can you guys think of any yellow animals that naturally occur in the wild? There's not too many of them, is there? A lot of fish are yellow and bright colors like that. There aren't that many other ones that I can think of. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Okay, you guys, let's go ahead and meet him. It's not his first time on the program. Remember, these guys are repeat animals that we've seen before. And he is wonderful. He is a snake. And it's Prince the Python. Prince is a ball python. Oh, he's showing you why they call them the ball python right now. They are an animal that rolls up into a ball to stay comfortable, to rest, to crawl underneath something, similarly to the leopard gecko, which goes underneath the ground. But also they ball up for protection. That helps them to stay safe from their enemies. Right now, he's not really balled up. He's going to go explore, I think. But this is Prince. Now, Prince is not an albino, but many albino snakes are colored yellow for whatever reason. So albinism comes into play in many different levels. So there's different levels of albino. But albino animals in general have red eyes. And they could be totally colorless with no pigment, or they could have yellow and kind of less pigment than they normally would have. You can see Prince's eyes are not red. Oops. Sorry, Prince. Trying to make sure you're in focus there, buddy. They are not red. They are dark colored. I'm still having trouble. Come on, camera, focus. So Prince's eyes are not red. They are dark. So he is not an albino in any way, shape, or form. He's what we call a pastave. Pastave is a mix between a pastel ball python and a mojave. So they came up with the word pastave, which is a combination word, of course. Now, this, again, is a animal that was bred in the care of humans and was bred for special coloration and genetics. But isn't he handsome? Ball pythons are from Africa. But not from the Middle East. They're actually from Central Africa, typically. And they usually live in savannas and other wooded areas like that. And they're quite a peaceful and passive species, which is why a lot of times you'll see these guys as well in the care of humans, becoming pets and things like that. So he's curled up in like a perfect ball right now. They really enjoy and seem to be comfortable balling up for comfort. And it's just the way they are. You'll rarely see a ball python kind of stretched out all the way. They're kind of like that. But it helps them to stay protected if they get their nose bumped and they want to stay safe, or they sense danger coming. They can actually stick their head underneath their heavy body. Their body is quite thick, and his nose is right here. He's so cute. But they can stick their head underneath themselves like this and like hide from the world and stay safe from predators and things like that. Because if you are an African snake this size, trust me, you're not the largest African snake or largest predator on the block. Africa has the most most predators of all the continents in the world. So there are lots and lots of options, hello, that could actually go after him as well. And even prey animals can be dangerous in Africa too, because Africa is quite a diverse and amazing place full of all kinds of dangerous animals. So if you're a snake about this size, or maybe even a little bit larger than this, because this species doesn't get very big as a python goes, I'm just trying to bump him so he stays here and doesn't leave. Stay here, friends, stay here. I'm trying to train him. So remember, ball pythons and all snakes, they cannot hear. They don't have any ears. So they could feel vibrations and maybe hear like a teeny bit because they have inner ears, but they really don't hear. So me going like this might, you know, it might surprise him a little bit like that, but I'm not hurting him in any way. I'm just trying to make sure he stays still. I've never seen Prince so active in my life. He's going crazy tonight. Maybe he's hungry. All right, so these guys do have to stay safe from all kinds of animals in Africa. So that's my point. So typically they're gonna kind of hang out underground, underneath a fallen log, underneath a rock, and kind of just live there. But if they need to venture out now and then, they can do that as well to hunt, or maybe even just to go get a drink of water or something like that. Typically though, this animal will stay very, very still for a very long time and wait for food to come to them. So, but if it's not food, they might need to stay safe, and then going and balling up and sticking your face underneath your heavy body is going to help you stay safe. Look how nice and stretched out he is right now, though. This is pretty rare to see a ball python stretched out this much. He's about 3 foot now. Prince is about 4 or 5 years old too, just like Felix. And I've had him since he was a tiny little baby. This species of snake does come from eggs. The leopard gecko also comes from eggs as well. Leopard geckos and all geckos, to my knowledge, lay 2 eggs at a time. They don't lay a lot of eggs at once, but typically gecko moms will lay eggs not really all year, but as long as there's resources and times are good, they will lay 2 eggs often. So it's not like they're going to lay 2 eggs once a year and that's it. They will lay 2 eggs all the time, pretty much. So about once a month is what like crested geckos do, for example. And I do think that other gecko species do that as well. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you guys know. But most gecko species do lay 2 eggs at once, kind of like year round, as long as resources are good. Unless they're a seasonal breeder, of course. But this species will come from eggs. And they can lay, I want to say up to, I'm trying to remember how many eggs a ball python can have, but they have really large eggs. Females are larger than males, and they can carry a clutch of eggs, which is several. And I feel like I've heard they can lay up to around 14, but that would be a very large clutch. And typical size is going to be like 7. So 7 eggs per time. And these guys typically, I believe, will lay a couple times a year in the wild. But breeders might be able to get them to breed more than that if they need to. But if not, they just breed them twice a year. And Prince was an animal that we've had since a little baby. That was what I was trying to tell you guys. And again, this is an animal that was bred in the care of humans for special coloration, which makes him yellow or on the yellow spectrum. Prince, yes, Prince is a python. We have a prince, a princess, and a patches. They all have kind of like dog names. But we also do love, of course, Prince, the famous musician. He is kind of named after that as well. Thank you for loving his name, triplets. Christopher asked, are those the ones that are invading the Everglades? No, they are not. So that type of python is the Burmese python. Burmese pythons get a ton bigger than these guys. So ball pythons only get about 5 foot, especially for females. They might get about 5 foot. Males are usually about 4 foot. They're not a very big snake at all compared to other pythons like reticulated pythons, Burmese pythons, African rock pythons, there's so Indian pythons, there's so many large pythons. The one you're thinking of is the Burmese python. And there are a couple of different theories as to why that happened in the Everglades and other places in Florida. So if you guys don't know and you're not from Florida, or you don't have this in your knowledge from being in the reptile world or in the animal world or field, maybe you heard it on the news though, it's pretty well known. Burmese pythons are invasive to Florida. Burmese pythons do not come from Florida, just like the Mediterranean house gecko does not come from here, it comes from the Mediterranean. Burmese pythons come from Burma, right? It's right in the name. And that is an area in Asia. They are not from Florida at all, but it is a similar environment with a humid environment, lots of rain, lots of warmth. It rarely gets cold in Florida until it does, and then it's really cold. But yeah, down in South Florida especially, there are lots of invasive species like that. So Burmese pythons became released somehow into the environment. It could have been because people were letting them go and not being responsible pet owners. That does happen every now and then. But we think on a larger scale that is because of hurricanes. So people do breed Burmese pythons for pets and other things like that. Don't necessarily recommend a Burmese python for someone who is not a reptile expert or someone who's very well versed in reptiles, because Burmese pythons get quite large. They are sweet most of the time, but some Burmese pythons are not sweet. And when they become feral, then they start eating other wildlife that they shouldn't be eating, etc. So they're not good for the environment in Florida for sure. But people do breed them from time to time, right? That makes sense because sometimes they're pets. And a lot of times hurricanes come through Florida, of course, and other places down south like that and in the Caribbean. And when hurricanes come through, they destroy buildings. And where are you going to breed Burmese pythons? Probably in somebody's house or building. So what they think happened on a larger scale is that a couple of hurricanes here and there caused buildings to become destroyed, where Burmese pythons and other snakes probably as well were living. And that's how some of them got released into the wild on accident. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want this anymore, bye. That happens sometimes, don't get me wrong, but that happens with a lot of reptiles. And most reptiles that happens with, they don't become feral and just take over. It takes a lot more reptiles for them to become that much of a problem, if it makes sense. But that is Burmese pythons, and Burmese pythons get a ton bigger than these guys. Burmese pythons can get upwards of 16 to 20 foot long. That is a huge snake. So your female Burmese pythons get really, really big. But ball pythons like this guy, they don't get very big at all. So they're usually not a problem whatsoever. It's still not responsible to re-release them out into, the wild if you're not from Africa, I guess. And even then, if an animal is acclimated to human care, they probably won't survive if they're re-released. But yeah, these guys aren't nearly as dangerous, number one, and apt to eating all kinds of other animals because they're not nearly as large. But you are on the right track. It is another type of python. So what makes a python special? Well, they are a snake, of course. You guys know they're snakes. They are reptiles. There are 4 categories of reptiles, including snakes, crocodilians, turtles and tortoises, as well as lizards, which we already met a lizard today, a gecko. This is a snake. He's also a python. So pythons are non-venomous. They are heavy-bodied, typically. They use their bodies to squeeze their food. What is their food? Well, it's typically rodents in the species, or sometimes birds, but all kinds of pythons eat all kinds of things. But this species is a very shy and picky eater typically. So typically it's going to be rodents. That is their main prey in nature, as well as right here with us. And in most people's homes, typically they're going to be rodent or maybe chick eaters or something like that. They eat a little bit of chickens here and there. But rodents is pretty common for them to eat, even in the care of humans. So what was I saying? Oh, pythons. So they are constrictors and they use their bodies to squeeze their food. Their food, of course, is other animals. So they have to make sure and do away with the other animal before they eat it and before it becomes safe to eat for them, because they do not chew their food. They swallow their food whole. So they have to make sure that their food is not moving before they can do that. So they use their bodies to squeeze. They have very, very strong muscles, which can wrap around that food. They become passed away and then they can eat the food. Another feature of pythons, typically, well, they lay eggs. And why is that weird? Well, not every constrictor, like boa constrictors, for example, lay eggs. They do not lay eggs. That was probably a confusing statement. Boa constrictors do not lay eggs. Not every constrictor does. A lot of snakes do not lay eggs. They give live birth instead. But pythons do lay eggs. That's a feature of pythons. And another feature of most pythons is going to be their heat-sensing pits, which are little tiny holes on their lips. Let's see if we can focus again and show you his lips. Come on, Prince, I want to see your lips. Aha, so he has heat-sensing pits on his lips. Look at all those holes. Those are not spots. Those are holes on the top lip there. They are called labial pits, labial heat-sensing pits. And they can sense heat without him making much effort. So his food oftentimes is rodents, like I said, and rodents produce body heat. He can also smell them with his great sense of smell via the tongue. So snakes have a specialized forked tongue, which can come out of their mouth, pick up scent particles, and go back into their mouth and tell their brain what's going on. They also have these heat-sensing pits when it comes to being a python. And that is very handy when you are hunting warm-blooded animals, oftentimes in a dark space underground. So smelling and sensing heat is usually how they hunt. They can see as well, but it is usually very dark where they live. Like I said, they're oftentimes a nocturnal animal too, but they're not visual very much. They do see shadows and movement. They do not see color like the leopard gecko can. They cannot blink like the leopard gecko can. So they're kind of always looking around, but they don't see very well at all. and their sense of smell ends up being their best sense. But in this species, all the pythons, to my knowledge, have those heat-sensing pits. They don't all have the same number of heat-sensing pits, but this species has several of them on their upper lip, so they're called labial pits. Pretty neat. Another animal that has heat-sensing pits is the pit viper. You've heard of pit vipers before. Pit vipers come in all different kinds of species, including rattlesnakes and water moccasins and all kinds of animals like that. They usually have 2 heat-sensing pits, though, in the front. And these guys have several all along their lips. And pardon me, I am going to get a drink. Because my throat is getting a little bit dry. But that is a feature of Burmese pythons, ball pythons, reticulated pythons, green tree pythons, all kinds of pythons have heat-sensing pits. And there are a couple of boa species that have them as well. They're typically arboreal or tree-climbing boas that eat, moving objects, so they need a little bit more sensory. But most boa constrictors do not have labial pits that can sense heat, and most pythons do. And I think all pythons do. I have to look it up and learn. This is going to remind me to look that up. All right. How often do I feed Prince? That is a good question. Prince eats about once a week. Say that 5 times fast. Prince eats about once a week. Prince eats about once a week. He eats either a medium-sized rat or 2 small rats about once a week, or sometimes when he's in shed, he won't eat that week because when they're in shed, they don't want to eat, and usually they're a little bit halfway blind because they have a scale over their eye, which is called a spectacle scale. And when they go into shed or blue and they're getting ready to shed their skin, they can't really see very well. And they already don't see very well. So oftentimes ball pythons especially will not want to eat at that time. So we typically skip that week because they shed once a month and it takes several days for them to go through their shed cycle. So it's usually 3 times a month, more or less. That is a good question. How do we know he's a boy? That is a good question because looking from the outside, you cannot tell male from female on most snake species. Now, there are some reptile experts out there that can tell the difference just by kind of looking at the tail area, and their educated guess can be one way or the other sometimes. But Prince was an animal that we actually purchased from a reptile breeder, and the reptile breeder had already done a procedure called probing. So probing is a procedure you can do on snakes, which is actually a very gentle procedure. It sounds awful, but it's really not. But that is how you can actually tell. It takes a very special tool and very special skills. If you don't know what you're doing, please don't do this at home. But it can be told by that. And once they are a mature specimen, you can usually tell by size because females are larger. But other than that, it's really hard to tell. So unless you're an expert like us, please do not probe your snake. Sorry, Prince. I didn't mean to spook you there. As you can see, I spooked Prince. I didn't mean to. I think I bumped him in the nose on accident. Sorry, buddy. Forgive me. Now, you'll also see something very interesting that I just noticed is that Prince also has slitted pupils. It's really hard to see because his eyes are so reflective with the lights and everything. But he does have slitted pupils. How many of you guys have ever heard that only venomous snakes, poisonous snakes, have slitted pupils? That is not true. Look how cute he is, you guys. He is non-venomous. He is a python and not a venomous snake at all. He's not a viper or anything like that. He does have slitted pupils because, again, he's more of a nocturnal animal than a diurnal. I'm so sorry for booping you earlier. Will you forgive me? He's like, I forgive you, Mom. So these guys do have a slitted pupil because, again, they're more nocturnal than diurnal. And they have the ability to dilate their pupils a little bit more because they do have a slitted pupil instead of a rounded pupil. But that's usually all that means. So how to tell the difference between a venomous snake or a non-venomous snake? It's not the pupils, because he's got a slitted pupil and he's non-venomous. It's not the shape of the head. Many non-venomous snakes, like the banded water snake, will actually flatten their head to look bigger and to look scarier and maybe like a viper. But they are not vipers, so that's not another way to tell as well. Another myth about how to tell venomous from non-venomous is going to be patterns and all kinds of things. I hear all kinds of rules, how many scales on their tail, If you see a snake and you're not sure whether it's a venomous snake or not, please take a picture of it if you are, in a safe spot where you can take a photo of it. Please don't get very close to it if you don't know what you're doing. Take a photo, send it to me if you want to. My number's down below. Send it to somebody or get on a Facebook group that is a snake identification Facebook group. There are so many of them nowadays, or other websites, I'm sure. But feel free to send it to me and I'll tell you what species it is. I do that all the time. I'm literally on Nextdoor all the time helping people out with snake problems. 9 times out of 10, it's a non-venomous, harmless species. And every now and then you do get a venomous species that you should never, ever handle if you don't know what you're doing. But we don't recommend hurting the snake either, because even venomous species do not mean to hurt you. They just want to do their job, which is eating rodents for us and helping us out with the food chain because they're helping us out by getting rid of lots of diseases. So leave them alone and they'll leave you alone. If you ever have a problem with a snake, say a snake is in your home or something like that and you just need it removed, please call a professional to do that. Do not do it yourself and do not harm the snake, because that is actually the most common way that people get bitten by snakes, is by trying to harm the snake, because the snake is then going to be in defense mode and try to bite you. Otherwise, they won't try to bite you because they don't want anything to do with you. So yeah, but there are many, many myths on how to tell a snake apart from being venomous or non-venomous. The best thing to do is to just learn the species in your area. Oftentimes there are only a few venomous species that live, especially here in the United States. I can't speak for other areas of the world because I don't live in other areas of the world, right? And sorry, you guys, I had an update try to start on my computer. I need to make sure and not start that. But the best thing to do is to learn the snakes in your area. So here in the US, we only have 4 categories of venomous snake and everything else is non-venomous. Now, again, I don't recommend you discriminating on that and picking up any snake or destroying any snake because you think it is what it is. Leave all snakes alone. That is my advice. But if you ever just want to know what they are, there are 4 venomous species, 4 venomous types and many species of these types. There are water moccasin, also known as the cottonmouth. That is the same thing. It's just 2 different names for the same snake. So water moccasin or cottonmouth, coral snakes, of course. And then we have all your rattlesnake species, and you have your copperhead species. Now, the most venomous of all 4 of those is going to be coral snakes. And there are several different types of coral snakes here in the US. And there are many down in Central and South America as well, in the Americas in general. I'm just going to relax your little tail there, buddy. You want to hang on to me? He's so cute. But all of them should be left alone. That is my PSA about snakes. Please let snakes live. They are very important for all of us and should be left alone because, of course, this is their home too. But all the rest of the snakes that I did not list are totally harmless to humans. There might be other types of snakes that have a little bit of venom, like hognose snakes and things like that, but they're not deadly to humans by any means. So we should leave all snakes alone. And that was a very good question. Have I ever counted the number of spots on him and how many spots is usually on a snake the size of Prince? I don't have an answer for either one of those. I've never counted his spots. I guess I could if I really wanted to. I've never counted his spots, and I don't know how many spots are going to be on a ball python. I think every single individual, in fact, I know every single individual has a different pattern from the next, and that is kind of like their fingerprint. So every single ball python, even though they are the same species of each other, they have different patterns, and a lot of them different colors nowadays in the care of humans. I'm going to see if he'll show you how you can climb. This is not really a climbing species that often, but they can climb a little bit, as you can see. Look at them go. Very pretty against the purple coloration, I think. All of our yellow animals today. Where are you going, Prince? You were supposed to go the other way. Go that way. You can do it, Prince. But I don't know how many spots are on Prince. He's got kind of a camouflage pattern, doesn't he? And that's helped him blend in as a wild animal. Of course, he's not the wild coloration. In the wild, they're going to be much darker than this and not yellow at all. They're going to be like brown and black and white a little bit. They have white bellies, very pretty bellies. All of them have white bellies, to my knowledge. I'm sure there are some that have been bred in the care of humans with not a white belly, but most of them have a white belly. But their dorsal is very well camouflaged, right? Very pretty. And in the wild, they would be brown and black, looking like the natural earth down below. All right, Prince. Well, you've done a great job with being an ambassador for your species and all snakes. Once again, please make sure to leave snakes alone. If you ever have a snake issue, just call an expert like myself or text me a picture of the snake and I will let you know what it is. And 9 times out of 10, it's something completely harmless to humans. But every once in a while you get one that isn't, so please don't pick any of them up if you do not know what you're doing. Okay, you guys, Prince is going to go down below. I'm actually going to stop my camera for just a moment and get the last 2 animals. That's right, 2 more animals are going to come out and join us at the same time. And they are new animals. Are you so super excited? They are yellow, which goes in with our yellow theme. They are the reason that I chose a yellow theme today, just to kind of theme it out a little bit. I think yellow looks really pretty up against the purple backdrop. So let me just take a very swift break. I'm going to get everything ready for this final animal species with 2 of them. And you'll be very, very excited. I promise it's going to be worth the wait. I'll be back in a flash, you guys. Bye. And I'm back. Thank you for waiting on me. I tried to run and get all this done super fast, but it took a little longer than I expected. So I appreciate your patience, you guys. Alrighty, let's see here. So we have some new animals today that are going to come out onto the show. Are you excited? I hope you're as excited as I am. And they're only about a week old, you guys. They were actually born on Monday, November the 30th. And they're about to make their debut out here, and they are yellow. We're going to bring out 2 of them, one at a time. Here's the first one. Come out and join us, buddy. Would you like some treats? Would you like some treats? There's some food for you. I know you're going to call your brother, though. So we have 2 beautiful brothers coming out next. Please don't jump off the cliff. 2 beautiful brothers, you guys. Look what we have here. This is why I had the platform out today, as you might imagine. And I have some treats out here for them. If they want to eat them, they sure can. This is their first live stream, so please be patient with us together as a team and with them. But I think they're pretty excited to be here. These are our brand new ducklings, as you can see. Now, you may have seen the program before where we brought out our wood ducklings. I don't want to cover them up from the camera, but these guys are different species of ducklings. They're actually Pecan Ducklings. So Pecan Ducklings are a type of, well, Pecan Ducks are a type of domesticated duck. So we do have our wood ducks, which are all grown up now. And if you're wondering about them, they're doing just fine. They're actually thriving outdoors where they live. And they're working really, really hard on getting all their training ready so they can hopefully come back onto the program one day. But it's actually kind of hard to bring them into the studio. Number one, they're a little bit more wild than these guys are. And also they're flighted. So this breed of duck, the Pecan duck, will not be a flighted duck because they are so very large. This is one of the largest breeds of duck in the world. They're almost goose-sized. And they are sometimes called the 10-pound duck because 10 pounds is an average drake size. What's a drake? Well, a drake is a male duck. So this duck can actually range from about 8 to 11 pounds. And they're sometimes called the 10-pound duck. And look at them just resting right beside me. I think they're doing very, very well. Would you like a snack? What about some snacks? Let the people see how you eat. This might be as close as we can get them to the camera. Maybe I'll pick them up again before we're done. Look how adorable they are, you guys. So we have Gansito and Lucas here to meet you guys today. This one's Lucas right here. Lucas is slightly bigger than Gansito. They are brothers, and they are only about a week old or so, maybe a little bit over a week old, whatever November the 30th to now is. They're going to be super curious animals. They're going to be super socialized as far as we can help. And we're going to get them to be amazing working birds for you guys to meet in person if you want to, or on live streams too. Aren't they adorable? Hello, Richard. You're just in time to meet our new ducklings, Gansito and Lucas today. Cedric says, purple and yellow are actually complementary colors. Yes, they are. We are kind of design experts around here. I should say that Ricky is a design expert, helping us design all of our logo and things like that with all the pretty colors in mind. Looks like y'all are asking, how do I know if Prince was hungry? Prince is being really active. It's also feeding time for him, and he just shed not too long ago. So typically after snakes shed, they want to eat because they have, of course, skipped that week from eating. You guys want more snacks? Here's some more snacks. Show the people how you eat. Oh, adorable. Show them your best side. Oh, look how they just kind of lay down and relax. They're so adorable, you guys. So that's how I'm guessing that Prince is hungry. Prince always eats these days, so he's almost always hungry. But we haven't fed him in a little bit, so since he went through that shed cycle like I mentioned before. Quack Bros. Super cute. Yeah, they are little brothers here. You said, OMG, they are so cute. We can't take it. I don't blame you. I lost it when I saw these guys for the first time. Do you guys want to see a video of these guys? I'm sure you do. So as you guys know, ducks love to swim. So I wanted to show you guys a very cute video. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. You have to stay here. You guys too, don't go anywhere. You have to stay still. I know you just want to run around, but you can't do that and jump off the cliff. You have to make sure you're okay. So I'm going to show you guys their first bath that I gave them here with us. And I got it on videotape, of course, but I thought you guys would enjoy seeing this when they were first with us. There we go. Look how cute they are bathing. Oh my goodness. So Gansito is the one right here next to me, but he's the one with the little black band on his leg. Since they're pretty much identical, we had to identify them some way. So we have one of them banded and the other one's not banded. So Gansito's the one with the black band. On the video, it's going to be the one on the left. And Lucas is the other one. You're so cute. We love you. Everyone loves you. So they are just getting their little baths. As you can see, it's pretty shallow water. And the reason for that is because that baby ducklings are not waterproof when they are babies. Until they get their adult feathers... Where are you going? Until they get their adult feathers, they will not be totally waterproof. They can float a little bit, but you don't really want to give them very deep water at this age, or this age, because remember the video is older and it was like a week ago, because they can drown pretty easily after getting very, very wet. So we just give them a couple of inches of water. As you can see, they're absolutely enjoying it, being super adorable on camera, just like they're being right now. I want to move this so you can see them. Oh my gosh, look at the little T-Rex wings. So cute. So Pecan Ducks are a Chinese breed. Before Beijing was called Beijing, it was called Pekin. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is where they get the name Pecan Duck. They're actually one of the oldest duck breeds. They've been in the care of humans for a long time. And they actually are originated from the mallard duck, just like all domestic duck species, except for the Muscovy duck. So many duck species, many duck species are descended from the mallard, which is a kind of a worldwide species of duck. They're found almost everywhere, all over the world, except for like Antarctica. But they're found all over the place, almost in every continent. I think they are in every continent. And I could be wrong, but mallards are found definitely in Asia and here in the Americas as well. But they kind of go all over the place and they're from everywhere. But that is how they became domesticated, was from mallard ducks. And they were domesticated for food purposes. As you may know, if you eat Chinese food, you've heard of Peking duck. That is exactly what this is, Peking duck. But don't worry, these guys are not going to be food by any means. They are going to be our friends, of course, our animal ambassadors. We wanted to raise some domesticated ducks. which are a little bit different than our wood ducks because our wood ducks are very wild. They don't really enjoy being cuddled with or pet. And our wood ducks are wonderful, but they're definitely a wild animal. Definitely not good for people to come over and like really pet very much. And so we wanted to kind of have a contrasting duck species with the Pecan duck. And Pecan ducks also don't fly because they are too heavy. They do have beautiful white wings. All their feathers are white when they grow up, but they cannot fly because they are too heavy. So that helps a little bit also to be able to bring them places where, of course, we are outside and things like that, and they will not fly away. So, of course, mallards are very common throughout the world, and that's where this species comes from, or sorry, where this breed comes from, long time ago, and from Asia. Oh, they're cuddling together. I don't want to disturb them too much, but can you see them? Oh my gosh, they're so cute. It looks like two-headed duck. So their names are Gansito and Lucas. Ricky named them. Kelly wants to know who names all of your animals. We kind of collectively name the animals. I name a lot of them. Ricky names some of them. Sometimes our kiddos name some of them. Sometimes it's just kind of all over the place. So we all kind of vote or agree on the names before we pick one. But these guys were pretty much, whoa. That's why I have this down here. Don't worry, they're fine. They're so clumsy. They're just like little toddlers. They're extremely clumsy, but don't worry, they're also extremely tough. And I did catch him in time. He's like, oh, I don't even know what happened. It's fine. Oh my goodness. I was holding like this arm over here, but I guess I should hold this arm over here, but I can't do everything. Aren't they adorable, you guys? They're so precious. Christopher says they look like the peeps for Easter. But those, of course, are chickens. These are ducklings. Ducklings are kind of funny when they're hatched. They are yellow like this. A lot of duckling don't fall off the cliff again, little boy. I need to also hold his bottom for other reasons. But anyway, so these guys, I'm in the splash zone over here, and it's not what you think. So these guys are born, of course, with down feather that is very soft like fur. Helps to keep them warm and everything like that. They don't have insulated feathers or waterproof feathers yet, like I mentioned before. And then just in a couple of months, these guys will be like a totally different bird. They will have their adult plumage in about 2.5 months. And when they have their adult plumage, ducks, of course, are semi-aquatic. Sometimes they're on the land, but they do love to swim. They have webbed feet. And I will show you another video really fast of their webbed feet, which is super cute. They have webbed feet they can swim really well with, like flippers, of course. And they also have, when they're adults, they have double insulated feathers. So they have down underneath, and then they have their adult feathers on top. I'm going to stand up. Their adult feathers on top, which will insulate them, but on top will be also waterproof. So their feathers kind of connect together like a zipper, and very, very tightly together like that. And they're very tiny, like comb together. And then they will also use their preening gland, which is a special gland at their tail right here. So, and they will take the oil from the gland and put it all over, making them even more waterproof. You guys want more snacks right here? Here you go. Here's some more snacks so everybody can see you eating. Oh my gosh, people love you, and their little peeps are so cute. When they grow up, they'll be able to make adult noises. Now, I did select male Pecan Ducks because male Pecan Ducks oftentimes are a lot more quiet than females. Female ducks are oftentimes the ones that actually quack and make a big ruckus because females raise the babies and they have to call their baby. So when females are moms, they typically do all the baby raising because typically female ducks in general of all species are a little bit less colorful than male ducks. Typically, male and female ducks are dimorphic or looking very different from one another. The babies all look the same when they're born. A lot of times they will be downy like this, in fact, all the time. And a lot of times they're either yellow or yellow and brown with stripes to help them blend into things. Most of the time they have some kind of markings to help them blend in, not just pure yellow like this, because of course these guys are domesticated. Whoa! He wants to be on the desk, I guess. You guys, it's like having 2 kids. In fact, they are my 2 kids. Oh. I'm sorry, but you just jumped off the cliff and I was just going to eat a snack like nothing happened. So don't worry. It's only like this far down. They're fine. There's just stuff on the desk. Anyway, so they will, of course, most of them will have feathers to kind of blend in, like stripes and spots and things like that. But of course, these guys are domesticated, so they don't really need all those stripes and spots. And then they will eventually get their adult feathers. And ducks and chickens are actually born very, very well developed. We call that precocial in the animal kingdom instead of altricial, which is underdeveloped. So animals like songbirds and parrots, for example, those guys are altricial. That means that they're very helpless when born. They don't have any feathers to speak of, maybe like just a little bit, but they're mostly naked. They can't see. Mom and dad have to completely keep them warm, keep them fed, all the things. And these guys are born. I mean, you guys saw the video. That was a day or no. That was like 3 days old that the video was taken. So they're born running around. They have feathers all over their body already. They might have baby feathers, but they still have feathers. Why don't you come back over here and join the party? Why don't you guys stay here? I'm gonna keep my hands on you this time. Goodness gracious. It's like they go from just sitting still to like flopping around all over the place. They just want to run around and play, which is great. They're so healthy and doing so well. Just lay down. Just lay down. There you go. Good boy. They're so pretty and pretty. So cute. So they're born running around, ready to eat solid food, whereas other birds actually have to eat their mom and dad's puke. These guys don't have to go through that phase. They can eat bugs right away. They can eat vegetation because these guys are omnivores. So ducks actually are all omnivores. All of them are. And that means they both eat plants and other animals like bugs and slugs and snails and all kinds of things like that. They might even eat some other animals too if they can get a hold of them, but they really like insects and other invertebrates like that, and also little fishes and things like that. But they have a very special bill. When you have a duck with a beak, which is all of them, their beak of a duck is called a bill, and their bill actually has little comb-like projections, which is similar to like a flamingo or other waterfowl and things like that. We call them lamellae, and those lamellae or little comb-like projections help them to filter feed in the water. So they'll stick their bill under the water and kind of press their bill together and eat like that. And that will help them to filter feed with those little comb-like projections. They're almost like little tiny little teeth for them. Wendy says, you have just convinced me to never ever order Peking duck at a restaurant. Well, I mean, I'm not really a vegetarian myself, so I do eat animals on occasion, but of course some of the ducks do end up being food, but these ducks are very, very lucky to be with us, I guess. So yes, it is the same exact breed. Here is a good question from Richard. Can you train them, sit, turn around, etc.? Yeah, you actually can train ducks. Ducks are pretty smart and they're very food motivated. They love their snacks. So that helps with training, of course. When you are training animals with positive reinforcement, it helps to have something they really love to be able to reinforce the behavior that you're asking for. So if I ask them to like lay down, maybe eventually I'll ask them to lay down on cue. That would be pretty cool and convenient for me to be able to present them and things like that. Or to just call them over, or to have them spin around, all kinds of stuff, or just come to me, all kinds of stuff, or go into a crate or a kennel so we can travel with them. All those things we plan to train them, more or less. And if you have something that they really love, then that helps to train them because they're going to earn their favorite snacks or whatever it is. Maybe it's attention, all kinds of stuff. But yeah, birds are extremely trainable, including ducks and chickens, believe it or not, because they're very food motivated. So that helps a lot. They seem to really like scratches on their back. Aren't they sweet? So speaking of training, I am going to show you one more video of these guys, and then I'm going to show you a little bit of a wood duck training video, if you don't mind. The wood ducks are really difficult to bring in the studio, like I think I mentioned already, because they are flighted. They might fly off and land somewhere. They're also very messy. Like these guys are messy too, but at least I can keep them in one area and have a little mat for them. And when they get bigger too, they should be able to just kind of hang out and I can hold them and things like that. The wood ducks are not comfortable being like held still. They want to fly and go somewhere. They love their food, and maybe someday I'll be able to have a nice clean room to be able to bring them in, or maybe we'll go outside and do a program from there. I thought about doing an outside program. It's a little bit more difficult with this type of setup, but that's the only reason that they haven't been coming into the studio lately. They're still in training as well. The wood ducks are also pretty young as well, just a few months old. I think they're around 6 or 7 months now total. But let me show you another video of these guys. I want to talk about their web feed a little bit. I took a video just today to show you guys. Oh, maybe I don't have it anymore. Let me find it for you guys first. Bear with me. But I think they're just so adorable, aren't they? Here we go. I found it. Wonderful. Okay. Sometimes technical difficulties happen. Okay, so let's go ahead and share this video with you guys, and you can see their feet. Well, I lied again. There we go. So I have ducklings in one hand and working the computer with my other hand. And so we are going to figure it out. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. Here we go. This is so super cute. So as you can see, this is a view straight on into a clear tub that I was letting them swim around in. And this was taken just today. So they're a little bit older than the last video, right? They're like, I don't know, a week old now. So their legs are longer and they can get a little bit of deeper water. And let's check it out, see what they do. You can see their webbed feet under the water. Their feet look huge and their legs look huge, don't they? You can see Gansito is the one with the little bracelet or band around his leg. They're just kind of enjoying the water being really mellow, but you can see how long a duck's legs are and how big they are. Ducks have very, very strong legs that basically effortlessly swim through the water. We're going to get an aerial view as well. They're like, what are you doing? They're going to get a little drink. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so in love with these guys. They're so cute. Okay, I just thought you would like to see their legs and how beautiful they are. They actually do have pretty large legs for such a small animal. Are you guys just gonna have a nap now? All that eating is a lot of work. All the growing is a lot of work too. So just like any babies, these guys eat a ton of food, they poop a lot, and they sleep a lot because they're growing like crazy. Ducks are one of the fastest growing babies in the animal kingdom. They have to grow up really, really quickly. Even though they are born very developed and running around and eating solid food and everything like that, they still are very vulnerable to predators. So being very, very well, somebody just went to the restroom. I just mentioned that. They are constantly going to the bathroom. So anyway, did you guys hear that? It was audible as well. My goodness. So anyway, these guys have to grow very fast to be able to survive and get bigger to not be eaten by everything. So what is more vulnerable than a sitting duck? A baby sitting duck, right? So what else about Pecan ducks you guys want to know? Oh, here's a good question. Cedric says, how do you tell if a duck's eggs are fertilized and when do they usually lay them? I had a pair of ducks that laid a bunch of eggs, but they were all tiny and never hatched. Well, of course you do need a male and a female duck, number one, which I'm sure you knew that. One way that you can tell if they're fertilized is by candling them. So after a couple of days, first of all, if they're going to be like unusually small and just don't look right, they're probably not going to be fertilized. And ducks, to my knowledge, can lay all the time, just like chickens can, because they're typically domesticated and they're raised for that. So I think it also depends on the breed of duck that you get. Now, I'm not going to lie. I've never raised ducks before for egg production. I've raised ducks before for programs and, you know, this sort of thing, but they're males, number one, and they're not intended for food or eggs. But there's a lot to be learned. I do know that certain breeds of duck lay more eggs than others, so it might have been the breed that you had. You can let me know which breed it was, and I can try to help you out. There are, of course, better experts than me when it comes to this kind of stuff. But, of course, you need a male and a female, right? You also... I think they have to be, warm enough. It's probably springtime mostly that they're going to lay with babies. Now, some ducks can lay, like I said, all the time, as long as it's not too cold. They probably won't lay during the super winter time, very cold winter time. And I'm sure you actually told me that you live in a pretty cold place during the winter, not in Texas like we do. So I think it just depends. I know there's some ducks breeds that are better for egg production than others, just like chickens. Some chickens lay far more eggs for us than others. So definitely some research to be done. But you can tell after a couple of days, if it looks like a nice, healthy, big egg and you hope it's fertilized, you can actually candle the egg, which is just taking a flashlight in a dark room and putting the flashlight up against the egg shell. And if it's in a dark room, you can see the veins and the redness in the egg. If you don't see like veins and redness in there, it's probably not fertilized. So that's the best way to be able to tell. And of course, there's more research to be done. But we do that with all kinds of eggs in the zoo field. If we have like reptile eggs and things like that, you can candle them with a flashlight in a dark room and you can see the veins and the baby starting to develop, which is pretty awesome. That is a good question. I've never gotten that question before. But yes, they're very trainable, and candling is the best way to see if your eggs are fertilized. What a mighty stretch that was. You look just like a dinosaur. Wendy says, we are screaming. They are so cute. Ah, you're welcome, I guess. I hope it's a good scream. Christopher says, they look like the peeps for Easter. Oh, I already read that. I already read that comment. Sorry about that. And I think that's your last comment. Let me know if you have any more questions or comments. I think our ducks made a fantastic debut. So what else about them? So I did mention that this duck is not really a dimorphic breed that they are derived from the mallard, which is a dimorphic breed, but dimorphic just means you can tell the difference between male and female very easily. Most male ducks are drakes. That is the term for a male duck, drake. Most drakes have very bright colors, like our wood ducks have very, very bright colors, the male does, and the females are kind of like a brownish color. But the reason, again, is because the females are typically the ones that sit on the eggs, and typically ducks nest on the ground. Wood ducks nest in the trees, but they're kind of strange. Most ducks are ground and water, and they don't really go up in the trees. And they will have to blend in with like a brown coloration or some kind of camouflage. And then, so mom has to be kind of brown. And then the male uses their bright plumage and coloration to attract mates. And they are not monogamous as a collective. Ducks are just not a loyal type of animal. But they do typically choose one male per season. So they have to have some way to choose the best one. So it's typically plumage and things like that. But ducks are definitely not a loyal species. They're not a monogamous bird like parrots and things like that. And typically the females only raise the babies. So that's why the females are less pretty than the males, if that makes sense. Look at that stretch. Look at the leg. I think these guys are comfortable being on camera and everything. I'm so happy. Winner, winner. Duck dinner? No, just kidding. Winner, winner. Duck animal ambassadors. So, and like I said, these guys are a white breed of duck. If you look up the Affleck duck is what they look like. That's exactly what they are. They're the Pecan duck. They're the white ones that are really big. They have a yellow or orange bill and yellow or orange feet. And when they're adults, the male or the drake, remember they're called drakes, don't go anywhere, they will have a curly tail feather, which is called a drake feather. And that is something that mallards have as well. That's where they come from, as a mallard. Just over the years, they've been bred to be white. I think actually Pecan ducks started off as brown or black, and then through many, many, many years of breeding them, don't leave, they actually eventually turned white as a breed, and now they're white. That is the standard of these guys. And the male does have a little curly feather on top of his tail, kind of on the butt. Where are you going? So like right here, they would have like a little curly tail. And the females don't have that. Another way you can tell the difference between a male and female duck is by their voice. Females oftentimes will be louder, like I think I mentioned already, because they're calling the babies to make sure that the babies follow them and things like that. And the male doesn't raise the baby, so he doesn't need a loud voice. So females oftentimes will be the ones that quack really loud, and the males usually make like peeping sounds or kind of scratchy voice sounds, which is why I picked male ducks. I'd rather have some quieter ducks, and I don't intend to breed them or have eggs. I don't care about that. So yeah. I think we talked about everything I intended to talk about. Would you guys like to see, I'm just so distracted by them because they're so adorable. Would you guys like to see an update on our wood ducks? A lot of people ask us about our wood ducks and how they're doing. They're doing fantastic. If you guys have followed us on TikTok, you might have already seen this video I'm going to show you, or a similar one. But I will post it again in other places if you want. Let's go ahead and show you this. This is a vertical video, so I'm very sorry, but we, of course, took it with my phone, and it was for like TikTok and stories and things like that. So let me just show you this. Let me get rid of our banner here as well. Yes. Okay, so this is a vertical straight up and down video of me in the wood ducks enclosure outside where they live, because they love to be outside, getting all the sun and getting the rain, and they love the weather. Wood ducks and all ducks are very cold weather tolerant, so they're outside year round, and they also do well in the heat because they're double insulated. Let's go ahead and play you this video of me doing a training session with them. I am going to be calling them up to my hand because they are fully flighted and they can fly right to me. I'm going to be calling them up to my hand and feeding them by hand. So you'll see that right now.
This one a little bit.
So the females are really good at this behavior, coming right to my hand. And the male is so-so at it, but he's actually getting better and better all the time. The male is just a little bit more nervous for whatever reason than the females are. I don't know why. I treat them all the same. The male is the one swimming in the pool right there. And the female, one of them is flying up to the perch. You can see how well they fly. The Pecan duck brothers will not be flying birds, so you will not see them flying up to a perch at all or perching on anything, except for on the floor, and then swimming in a pool. Are they doing well? I'm so proud of my wood ducks. Wood ducks, of course, are a wild type of duck, not a domesticated duck like these guys are. So they are quite a different personality. Taking a lot of work to get them comfortable with humans. And by humans, I mean me. But they're doing really well and very healthy, as you can see. No problem there. Look at them go. They're so quick. And quite a small duck species as well, right? Oh, super cool. What did you guys think about that? Please follow us on all of our social media to see more. I'm going to get our brand back up here. Well, you guys, it's been fantastic. I'm sorry it looks choppy. I guess it's been kind of like in and out. I heard that the signal was bad at the beginning and now it's good again. And I guess it's bad again. So maybe I will take that as a hint and go ahead and end. I hope you guys have enjoyed our new ducklings. I'm going to get them up and then I'm going to give them a whole bunch of food so you guys can hopefully see them eat. What do you think? Yum. And then we're going to give them some water. So when you raise ducklings, they actually need quite a bit of water as well to help them to eat their food because they are, it's okay. Are you scared of your water bottle? Whoa, guys. Duck down again. I'm trying to give you guys water. I'm sorry. There you go. They're so clumsy. I should have thought this through a little bit more. I know that sounded really loud, but he literally fell like a few inches. Okay. And they're back. This is real life, you guys. But they, when they eat their food, they actually need water to be able to swallow their food as well. Since they are water birds, they're waterfowl, is what you call that. They do require water when they're eating their food and, of course, drinking. And they love to swim. We give them swim time when I'm cleaning them out and periodically throughout the day. Not too much swim time at this age because they're not waterproof yet. Sorry about the duckling fall down, guys. I'm sorry it looks choppy. Let me know if it's looking better. I do want to give you guys more footage of the ducklings really fast before we say goodbye. So ducklings should be fed a special duckling diet, of course. They get a higher protein pellet than adult ducks do. Whoa, please don't fall. Please don't fall again. No. Now, the good thing about ducklings, as well as most baby birds like this, is they are super tough. So I mentioned before our wood ducklings, they're a totally different species, of course. But those guys actually jump from trees when they are like a day old. So they're pretty tough animals in general. So don't you worry about Mr. Gansito. He's totally fine and eating some more. Anyway, you guys, we better say goodbye before any more disasters happen, I guess. Oh my gosh, I hope you love them. Please stay posted because they're going to grow really, really fast. Maybe I'll have them on again next week just because they're going to be growing so very fast. And I want you guys to see the progress and not miss out on their baby days. It's going to be sad when they grow up, but I'm really excited to have them. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. We will see you next time, every Wednesday, next Wednesday and every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central. And we'll see you guys then.
We are nothing close to ordinary, but we love to be your friend. Hold our hands and let's have fun together, singing as loud as you can. Everybody singing once in a while. Together once in a while. I wanna hear you say once in a while. Never fun for me and you.
I hope everybody really enjoyed the ducklings, and we hope to see you next time. Bye, guys.